Hi, welcome back to my channel, and I decided to do a new writing vlog partly because I am on 3 deadlines all at the same time right now. 2 of them for short stories, 1 for a revision for my new K-pop rom-com Once Upon a K-PROM, and I thought that I would just share the madness and the process with all of you. So yes, let's get to it. Let's write. So I already procrastinated once today. I'm only gonna say it's 1 procrastination, but I filmed a couple of YouTube videos, partly because I had decided that I wanted to be just better at my YouTube, which is why I'm making this vlog. But yeah, I just randomly became inspired to film a couple of YouTube videos, partly because I did my hair last night. I found a TikTok video on how to curl your hair overnight using like a belt from a robe. It's a lot, it's a long story, but I liked the way my hair looked, so I recorded some YouTube videos. I mean, seriously, that's probably the main reason that gets me to film videos in the first place, is like, if my hair doesn't look awful, I'm like, okay, I gotta take advantage of this. But no, I'm gonna write now, so let's do that.
Just think about it right now, everything's okay. No matter where you find yourself, no matter what kind of stuff is going on in your life, underneath it all, everything's actually all right. You're okay. You have more power than you might be giving yourself credit for. If you have something that's going on in your life right now that's challenging, painful, it's just a reminder to take a little bit better care of yourself. You're worth it.
So today, despite the procrastination in the middle of the day, ended up being pretty productive because for the first time ever, the story feels like a story. Like, all the parts are there. I just need to figure out how they all fit together and revise them and make them seem cleaner and do better transitions. But it's good. It's the first time I feel like reads like an actual story, even though it's messy. I actually really like this part of the revision or writing process the best because it's kind of like a puzzle, and I really like puzzles and I like to see how they all fit together. But I'm coming up against deadlines, so I'm probably going to do a quick read through, do some cleanup, and then send what will still be a fairly rough draft, to be honest, off to my anthology editors. Part of the reason is because this anthology is a little bit of a different format, so it would just be better for the editors to read what I'm going for and let me know if I'm going in a bad direction, if it doesn't fit in the format of the anthology we're trying to do. And the other reason why I'm probably just gonna go ahead and do this is because I've learned over the course of being under contract for other books that bringing your editor in when you kind of feel stuck is probably a better way to unstick yourself than to like stress out and have anxiety spirals about whether you're doing the right thing or not, and just like beating yourself up over it. I think that before I had an agent and before I was under contract for a publisher, I always wanted my writing to be as polished as possible before anyone else saw it, because I was like, what if they think I'm a bad writer? But the thing is that once you have published books out there, people can see your final products. They can see that you're capable of making a final product, and that gives you a little bit of comfort. And because I had to, for Vicious Spirits, like bring in my editor during a really early rough draft because I was just struggling super hard, and it was such a good and creative process that like really helped me figure out that story. I have a lot of faith in bringing in my trusted team members, like my editors and my agent, and you know, the few critique partners who've really been through it with me. I think that the pros outweigh the cons. The cons being like the anxiety of being like, they're gonna hate my writing and think it sucks. And the pro being to be able to brainstorm with another really great storytelling mind about like how to make your story better, and that process, and bringing them in early in the developmental phase instead of like trying to fix it after the fact. I think that's a great advantage of having an editor or an agent or a really trusted critique partner. So I do that more now than I've ever done before, and I think it's pretty good for my writing. So I'm gonna go ahead and try to do that for this story.
You can have this feeling anytime you choose.
Okay, so yesterday I turned in my first draft of my short story for the first anthology, and now I have another short story due in a couple of weeks. But I like to, between projects, kind of try to refill the creative well, like take at least a day off, right? So I've decided that I'm going to go back and read a few short stories from some of my favorite anthologies. So that includes Flying Lessons and Other Stories, which is all diverse authors, and it's edited by Ellen Oh, the co-founder of We Need Diverse Books. The other one, also edited by Ellen Oh, but also Elsie Chapman, is 1,000 Beginnings and Endings, which is a retake or a reimagining of different myths from around Asia. So really, really loved this when I first read it, so I'm definitely gonna reread some of these. And then the next one is A Phoenix First Must Burn, edited by Patrice Caldwell. She's the editor of one of the anthologies that I'm writing for, so I really definitely want to read up on this one because obviously these are stories already curated by her. The last anthology I have here is the Foreshadow anthology, which is edited by Emily X. Arpan and Nova Rensuma, and this started out as an online magazine kind of place to put short stories by diverse YA authors, and then they also got a book deal to make a bound anthology, which they decided to only include new voices in it, which I really love that they use their platform to boost new voices. So definitely love this one and support this one. And the final thing I have is not an anthology, it's actually a craft book mixed with like essays about race in creative like stories. So it's called Race in the Imagination, From Harry Potter to the Hunger Games, The Dark Fantastic. So by Ebony Elizabeth Thomas. So love this cover, by the way. Like, look how gorgeous this is. But I'm really excited to read this one just because these are things that I'm always like really interested in talking about when it comes to the publishing industry, and she is a very well respected voice when it comes to diversity in publishing. So I'm really excited to read this craft book. There we go. That's refilling my creative well. Let's see how it goes today.
The next morning.
Okay, so I'm really excited because I bought a new office chair and I've been needing a new one pretty much ever since I moved in, but the pandemic has kind of like made that more apparent. This is my old office chair. It's actually like it's like a plastic chair that I put like a seating pad on and like put a chair cover on, but for some reason the way it's set up is that like I'm kind of like leaning too far back and there's no way to adjust that, so it just doesn't work for me to sit in all day while I'm working from home, which like I've worked from home even before the pandemic happened, so I have no idea why I was okay with this as an office chair for so long, but I bit the bullet. I bought a nice one, so I'm really excited. Why does Amazon always give you a box that's like twice the size of like what's being delivered? It never makes sense. Okay, I'm gonna do an unboxing because I got some swag from this. It's from the Teen Author Bootcamp, which I'm going to be a speaker on a panel. So let me just oh, okay. So the first thing is, ooh, it's a t-shirt. This is very cute. The next is, ooh, okay. So then here's the logo for the boot camp. I'm really excited. I'm so excited to talk to teen authors. I'm so excited to be on a panel with my fellow authors and like actually see people. It's gonna be super fun. And then, oh, they sent this little backpack type thing, the pull string backpack, which I actually really love these because like if I go to the park and I just want to bring a few things and I don't want to wear a full backpack, then you can wear these. So yay, thank you Teen Author Bootcamp for the swag, and I cannot wait to be on one of your panels. And I'm Kat Cho, author of Wicked Fox and Vicious Spirits, and this is Write or Die. Yeah, I was thinking that too, because I never say author of Wicked Fox and Vicious Spirits and Once Upon a K-Prom. Like, I don't say that because it just sounds like too much, which is so funny because 3 sounds, it feels like a lot, especially when you're just starting out, because like we fought so hard to get even 1. So today was one of those days where I wasn't necessarily very productive during the day, which happens to me a lot actually, especially my sleep schedule is really bad right now. I wake up like way late in the day. But at the same time, I felt like I had moments of productivity that still kept me on par with like my goals. I don't necessarily measure things by word count right now, partly because it's short stories that I'm working on, and I don't necessarily think it's word count that matters when it comes to short stories. It's more like, does the story feel more complete? And especially for me, because I'm very wordy, I'm actually trying to keep my word count down, which is very interesting. And I've done that before with novels where I feel like I'm getting too wordy usually when I'm getting to the end of the first draft and I'm already like at 100,000 and I haven't like finished the big climactic scenes and stuff. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is getting too much. So I don't necessarily measure by word count. That's not really how I personally do it a lot of the time, because I do know that I'm going to get a really high word count by the end of the day. It's more like, have I accomplished the scenes that I wanted to accomplish? And so for this short story, there's 2 big scenes that I really want to get to, and I'll probably get to them tomorrow. But for right now, I'm kind of just like outlining how I think that they'll happen, just because my brain is a little bit shot today and I don't want to force it. If I do feel inspired a little bit later, I'll still write. So it does happen to me sometimes, like it'll pretty much be like coming up to midnight. I'm pretty much like done, I think, in my head, like how much more can I work on this? And then like, you know, 12:30 in the morning, I get like this burst of energy and I really want to work on the story. So I will. I don't hold myself back, especially if I don't have anything scheduled the next day. I have a new strategy for the short story thing. The other short story that I wrote and I turned in earlier this week is actually for an anthology that's a little bit of a different format. I'm not going to go too much into it because it hasn't been announced yet, so I'm going to wait for that announcement before I talk about it more, but it's just not your traditional short story format. So this one that I'm writing for the Eternally Yours anthology, edited by Patrice Caldwell, it's a little bit more straightforward of a short story, and I've heard people before say, like, don't overly complicate it. There should be one main emotion that the character is dealing with, and that like slowly their perspective over that changes over the course of the short story because of the actions of it. So it's a little bit more focused in on one small moment in a character's life as opposed to like a huge overarching, like there's all of these small little instances of lessons that kind of all build up into one big character change at the end, which is what I'm much more used to. So I'm trying to focus myself a little bit more on just like one main emotion that my main character is feeling. She's pretty much feeling, she's feeling like she's stuck in this town and she wants to escape. That's it. And then everything else that happens to her is tied into that feeling of feeling stuck and wanting to escape. And then by the end, she figures out how to escape and realizes that like there's a healthier way to do it. So I hope that that helps me kind of streamline it and not be like overly wordy, because that's my biggest issue. Like anything, even if it's a novel, I always overwrite, and it just gets, it's like I kind of beat a dead horse sometimes. I like really want you to understand what I'm trying to do with this theme, and then I overdo it, so my revision is actually pulling back on that as opposed to adding more. I know other people are the opposite way, but I'm the way of like, I over explain everything and then I have to go in and be like, this is unnecessary, my readers are really smart. So hopefully this helps with the short story process too. I realized I forgot to film an outro for this vlog, so as I'm editing it, I'll give you a little update on what is happening writing-wise. So one short story turned in, another short story, the deadline got extended, and I'm technically done with that one, but I want a few beta readers because I'm still not as confident in my short story writing as I am in my regular novel writing, so I am waiting for some beta reads on that one before I send that one in, since I got the extension deadline. And then I am still working on edits for Once Upon a K-PROM, but I had a really good call with my editor about the ideas I have for it, and I'm actually really excited to do these revisions, which I feel like phone calls always help with that. That's how I work, at least. Like, having a phone call about revisions often gets me really excited about them because I'm talking my thoughts out loud and I'm processing them and working through them. So I think that a good way to get unstuck sometimes is to phone a friend or your editor or your agent and talk about the things that have you stuck or your ideas and see what they think and just work through the process out loud, and that really helps me. So I am going to go and spend 100% of my energy on those revisions, and hopefully I want to finish those by the end of this month. So that's my update. Thanks for coming along with me on this writing vlog. If you have any comments or questions, you can put those down below. You can tweet at me at CatShow. I'm on Instagram at CatShowWrites. And if you like this vlog, then I'd really appreciate a thumbs up or a subscription to this channel. And I'll see everybody next time. Happy writing. Bye.